One of the things that I've been the most grateful for while I watched Indian cinema growing up is that we have a tradition of creating musicals. While we are slowly steering away from it, especially with the OTT revolution and what the medium demands, this transition kind of makes me sad as I'm a sucker for commercial Bollywood movies and their structure. It's what I've grown up with, don't judge me. So while there are many films which meticulously combine music to tell stories, sometimes becoming the soul of the film, there are times also where the music actually burdens the film or are just presented as marketing gimmicks. Something that we have lately seen with films like Ruhi and Lakshmi. Songs being shot separately and dialogues being written just to integrate it in some way in its premise. The unique situation that we are talking about today is when storylines themselves make us extremely frustrated and the only saving grace of these films are its beautiful soundtracks. Before I list some of the films that fall into this category, write down in the comments below of films according to you that did not work from a storyline point of view but had some beautiful music. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with When Bollywood Movies Suck but the music is beautiful. Half Girlfriend. Every Chetan Bhagat novel is not destined to become a great film. Half Girlfriend is a classic example of an adaptation that just becomes a mess. From the half-baked attempt at capturing the essence of Delhi University, an even worse attempt at mastering the Bihari accent, and what we got was a romantic storyline with the acronym Half Girlfriend being passed around as if it was actually a thing. While it was tough to go through the bizarre journey the two characters end up taking, even a sincere performance by Vikrant Massey and a poorly rendered CGI Bill Gates could not save this film. However, the music is the soul and simply beautiful. This can be credited to the fact that the film has several music producers and singers for various parts of the album. From Tanish Bagchi, Farhan Saeed, Mithun, Rahul Mishra, Ami Mishra and Rishi Rich, this is truly a collaborative product. My favorites of the film have to be Barish and Phir Bhi Tumko Chahunga. You can hate this movie all you want, but I'm guilty of watching the YouTube videos of its songs on repeat. ANJAANA ANJAANI. A film that many people simply forget exists in Ranbir Kapoor and Priyanka Chopra's filmography is the 2010 film ANJAANA ANJAANI, a film that explores the relationship between two individuals who are on the brink of ending their lives. While the film was intended to provide a commentary on the psychological state of individuals who are going through such mental turmoil, it actually became a misinformed and ignorant take on a very sensitive topic. A road trip to Vegas and a constantly complaining Zayed Khan couldn't really save this sinking ship. But what was undeniable was some of the most beautiful tracks from this movie produced by Vishal Shekhar. I was in the 10th grade and I so vividly remember dancing on the title track sung by Nikhil D'Souza and Monali Thakur. While Tumse Hi and Hairat were really enjoyable tunes, you know the sad boy in me always goes back to listening to Tujhe Bhula Diya, achingly sung by Mohit Chauhan, Shekhar Rajvani and Shruti Pathak. You know it is a tune you go back to when you're in a dark place, don't lie. Kalank. I remember first watching the trailer of Kalank and being blown away by the scale and opulence of the film. I was so excited for what was in store, and while I was enamored by its beauty, I don't think anyone will debate that the film faltered miserably from a storyline perspective. A love story set during the time India was a British colony, but the film showcased a complete absence of the imperialist influence. Karan Johar himself admitted that he could not see beyond making his father's dream project the biggest, most beautiful production India had ever seen. But sadly, it was at the cost of the core and the timeline of the film completely being uninformed and messy. The masses and Instagram Reels influencers will wholeheartedly tell you that the soundtrack is mesmerizing. Composed by Preetham, the film had a variety of songs capturing different moods. From dance numbers like First Class and Era Gera, I think the title track is definitely everyone's favorite. My only request would be to listen to it beyond the chorus of Main Tera. The song in its entirety really is beautiful. Salaam-e-Ishq. A classic case of a director experiencing success and is provided ample resources to create whatever project he wants, leading to his own downfall is Salaam-e-Ishq. The film came out after Nikhil Advani had reaped the benefits of the success of Kal Ho Na Ho. Salaam-e-Ishq was an ambitious project. 6 individual storylines with a star-studded cast, and upon revisiting it, I understand why it failed. The film is a mixed bag, some stories truly making your heart melt and others making you confused and uncomfortable. Muddled with product placements and unintentionally funny cameo appearances like Karan Johar, and oh yeah, being close to 3.5 hours long, the film and its creators got ahead of themselves, or what could be possibly the product with so many stars and stories. But the music by Shankar Ehsaan Loy is truly evergreen. Whether it be Adnan Sami's Dil Kya Kare, Shan and Nihira Joshi's Mera Dil, Kailash Khair's Ya Rabba, or the addictive dance number Tenu Leke. The film's soundtrack is an absolute treat. Not to forget the enjoyable title track. With this film, I definitely get taken back to a simpler time. Roy. Okay, you have to realize that I'm such a fan of Ranbir Kapoor that I end up raving and defending his films when they are panned as they come out. I remember being the Tamasha and Jaga Jasu stan while everyone told me I was delusional. But I still can't defend the 2015 film Roy. Arjun Rampal, a fairly successful director, seeks for inspiration to write his third installment. A lot of smoking, and I mean a lot of it, a trip to Malaysia, and the fictional tale plays side by side, often interacting with the creator as a love story develops in both respects. समझ गए ना? Yeah, most people gave up. The film, which was confused in itself, had some brilliant music. While we can all collectively forget that we danced on Chittiya Kalaiya without knowing what it meant, we can all proudly say that we fell in love with Suraj Duba Hai and Tu Hai Ki Nahi. The music composed by Ankit Tiwari and Amal Malik definitely hit it out of the park. Marjama. Milab Zaveri films and the pitch in which they are presented is something that I will never understand. He presents these films as an homage to vintage commercial films that were over the top, but it's tough for a creator like him to realize that the Indian audience has evolved from this treatment. His 2019 film Marjama was 80s Bollywood personified, but rather than transporting us to that decade, it just used tropes that were unintentionally funny. An anti-hero who changes because of love, fights the vertically challenged antagonist, and some of the cringiest dialogues like "Na Tipu, na Sultan, na Azhar. Salman Khan ka fan, Mazhar." The film turned out to be a mess, but the music composed by several artists really stood out. Let's forget about the fact that they remade Masak Ali, keep that aside, but come on. Tum Hi Aana by Jubin Nautiyal and Thodi Jagah by Arijit Singh have to be some of the most soulful tracks in recent times. Sadly, the movie had only its music going for it, and of course, Tara Satarya. I'm a stan. Love Aajkal. You know, the new Love Aajkal is something that simply disappointed me. It's because I see one of my favorite creators in Imtiaz Ali make a bootleg version of what was once considered to be poetic and meaningful. Upon watching the film and trying to seek for the poetry that some people claim it communicates, I found myself being baffled again at the lackluster attempt at a storyline. While Kartik Aaryan and Arushi Sharma provided some sincerity with Randeep Hooda, the urban love story between Veer and Zoe, transitioning from stalking to first world problems that were barely explored, did not connect with me at all. Even after watching it the second time, Sarah's overindulgence in emoting every muscle on her face made the performance awkward and distant. Other than the storyline, it has to be said that the music by Preetham and the lyrics written by Irshad Kamil really were the highlight of this film. From Shayad, Mehrama, and KK's Aur Tanha, the film has a really beautiful soundtrack. Only if this movie's storyline was as engaging. The EMRAAN HASHMI special. The answer that I got most when I asked this question on Instagram, yeah, shout out to myself, check out me at JammyPants4 for some weekly updates regarding the channel, but almost every third person said that this is a recurring feature with so many EMRAAN HASHMI movies. Somehow the period of the mid-2000s had many mediocre EMRAAN HASHMI films, but they would always have amazing music. I don't know whether this was a tale that was constant with Vishesh Bhatt Productions, but every time Hashmi featured in a film, it would be certain that a song would be iconic. You look at a problematic romantic film like Tumsa Nahi Dekha, and it has some of the most soulful tracks. Maine Soch Liya and Bheed Mein Tanhai Mein, sung by legends Udit Narayan and Shreya Ghoshal. All 90s kids definitely know these tunes. You go on further to a film like Zeher, Mohit Suri's first directorial venture, and it has to have some of the most banging tunes. This was the time Pakistani artists were collaborating for a lot of Bollywood movies as well, and they would churn out such gems. Atif Aslam's Wo Baatein, Wo Lamhe, KK's A Bekhabar, and Udit Narayan and Shreya Ghoshal's Agar Tum Mil Jao. These songs will bring back such fond memories. Tum Mile is probably the best example of a lackluster film, but an amazing soundtrack composed by Preetham. Tum Mile, Tu Hi Hakikat, and Dil Ibadat. I mean, what is this long-running feature of such amazing music in EMRAAN HASHMI movies? The trend hasn't stopped even now. With films like Azhar and Hamari Adhuri Kahani, the creators have somehow always churned out one or two soulful tracks for an EMRAAN HASHMI starrer. I think at this point it's written in his contract as a must. Jab Harry Met Sejal. I always want Shah Rukh Khan to do well. He has literally been such an essential part of my childhood, and there is a reason why he's considered to be the king of romance. He's done it so brilliantly in the commercial Hindi space. But when at 50, you're trying to flex the same muscles, sadly in a product that is haphazardly written, it all but becomes a khichdi that is not entirely an Imtiaz Ali feature nor an SRK starrer. The subtext is lost in all the traveling and the quest to find a ring, which has a deeper meaning. But my god, was it a slogfest. No matter how much of a fan you are, you know you can only talk about this film for its moments and not for what it represents holistically. Though, The film has a phenomenal soundtrack composed and written by Preetham and Irshad Kamil respectively. Fun songs like Rola and Radha is one thing, but it's the soulful tracks that really made me crave that only if this film had a more captivating and layered romance to tell, this one would have been one for the ages. Hawaein, Safar and Yadon Mein are such enchanting tracks. The album is definitely underrated. Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. Being the ardent Ranbir Kapoor fan, I also couldn't defend the glaring problems that existed in Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. I remember before I had started reviews on the channel in 2016, I had made a video titled Everything Wrong with Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. And it's hilarious as I agree with most of the points stated there. The film showcases only the privileged and rich Indian bubble in foreign countries that book private jets at the drop of a hat to constantly speak in 80s Bollywood references and deems fit to harass one person because saying no is only a suggestion to say yes eventually. From constantly berating the woman to accept her, flipping her off on her own wedding day, and hurting himself because he's heartbroken to finally making a move again, only to be rejected, there are stories of unrequited love that can be endearing, but this one was just problematic and awkward. And I say this as a Ranbir fan. Even the iconic cameo appearances of Vatavaran and Ek Tarfa Pyar couldn't save this film's romantic storyline. Don't even get me started about the cancer twist in the second half. I remember the experience in the theatre and everyone rolled their eyes. Irrespective of whatever I think about the film, its music is simply beautiful. Something that I often revisit even today. Composed by Preetham and written by Amitabh Bhattacharya, Bulliya, Cutie Pie and the title track are so good. Arijit Singh is such an iconic singer. Of course, the favourite of all sad boys has to be Channa Mereya. Often I go to see Ranbir dance in a sad frenzy at Elise's wedding. Am I weird? Okay, let's just end this video. Do tell me your suggestions of movies that you think didn't work but the soundtracks were amazing. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.